this panel is really special for me to share this panel with Dr. Selva-Murthy, who needs no introduction. He's an inspiration for all of us. And being an Amity University alumnus, this moment is really more special to me. Okay, so I'm a patent, trademark and design attorney, and I've been handling the patent, trademark and design portfolios for individual inventors, startups, the Fortune 500 companies, scientific organizations, and universities also. So presently I'm running my own organization, which is a law firm, exclusively practicing, we are practicing IP, and the name of the firm is the Frontiers Legal. We are based in New Delhi. So we have a team of patent attorneys, trademark attorneys, lawyers. So we are handling the litigation matters with the Delhi High Courts and the other courts of India, and dealing with the Indian Patent Office as well as with the international patent offices also. So today I'll be talking about the IPR exclusively for the startups, and why it is important to protect your ideas before you pitch. So I'll not be just talking about the legals, then the key takeaways. I'll be covering very quickly. So considering that I think all of you must be aware of what IPR do cover. So it covers patents, design, trademarks, copyright, geographic indication, even semiconductors, layout designs, as well as trade secrets. So we don't have trade secret law in India, but trade secrets are considered as a confidential documents. Now, why IPR matters for the startup? See, the IPR gives you, nowadays, it's a very crowded place to have a lot of inventions, and a lot of startups are coming. As per the recent report, we do have around 59,000 startups so far, according to the recent release of the PIE. And the success rate, the conversion rate of the startups in India is very, very less. And I think plays a very important role in that. So innovation alone is not a success. Your unprotected ideas, leaks are there if you are not protecting them through the IP. The investors value the protected IP. So the third point is very, very important. The investors nowadays do consider the IP. The first thing when you approach any investor, they will check your IP portfolio. Before all IP protections you have agreed. Now, IP is a strategic business asset. So why IP is more than just a legal formalities? So if I talk about any of the startups, when any startup registered, they do register with the DPIIT. DPIIT gives you a certificate as a recognition to be registered as a startup with them. Then after that, any startup comes up with a name. So for that name, you need to get a trademark registration, and every startup is unique in its own way. So the idea needs to be patented, or maybe copyright. Or if you have, suppose many startups, you have different forms of startups. So the startup, suppose, is coming up with some designs, new designs, like the fashion startups if I talk about. So they need to really protect their designs also. So to secure the competitive advantage in the market, if you have secured your IP rights, it attracts investors, partners, and you can get a lot of fundings from the government agencies as well. Enables the monetization through the licensing and the royalties. It also mitigates the risk of infringement, which is very important. See, the idea of getting the IP rights is to come up in the market to reduce the risk of getting the infringement claims, so that somebody else will not infringe your rights, maybe on name or anything. Suppose, for example, if I'll give you an example of a startup, suppose a startup, I just mentioned the Diksha Life, we just had a presentation. So there was a logo on the presentation. So Diksha Life has to check before, giving the presentation, or maybe putting across the words through the different organization. They need to check the logo protection for themselves, whether any other logo with the same name or same design is protected or not. So that gives you an extra edge in the market, exclusivity, and it also mitigates the risk of getting infringements. It drives the innovation and long-term growth. So basically, it Overall, the IP protection strengthens your market positioning nationally as well as globally if you go with the global portfolio. Now, the silent killer for the startup was do it yourself. Now, this is a basic problem with a lot of startups when they approach us. They think कि आ जाते हैं and they said कि आप ना ज़्यादा पैसे ले रहे हो, वो कम ले रहे हैं. Or we don't want to spend this much now. We want to spend this much. So that bargain game is really not worked for any organization, be it startup or be it inventor or be it anyone. So they have to really consider that they have to approach the right IP professionals. Nowadays, what the people are doing, especially the startups, their CA is doing everything. We recently came across two big portfolios where one of the organizations, they have filed 15 trademark application. And for one application, at least you have to pay 4,500 for the startup as a cost of a government fee. So at least that amount you have to pay. If your attorney is working free of cost for you, but that cost will definitely go for your government filing. So the whole portfolio was filed in a wrong class. Complete, more than 13 applications were there. So that kind of advice can only be provided by the IT Council, not by the CA or the CS. So that is really important to identify and to get a right consultation on time from the right people. So this approach needs to be really changed. Now, what are the pitfalls? So the most important, the first basic thing is to identify the right form of IP. So the startups come to us, they said, we want to file a patent for trademark. So they need to understand what is trademark, what is patent, what is design, and what is copyright, and what kind of protection are there available in the market. So for that, you need to really consult a right IP attorney, not the CA or the CS or any business organization nowadays are doing a lot of work. They are hiring less experienced people and they are giving the kind of advisory which legal attorney is supposed to give. So these things are really important. Now, if some startup wants to go for the international protection, they have to really plan that before launching their startup in the market. Now, overlooking the ownership, this is a very important thing. The ownership is very important. Be it a research organization, be it a startup, be it an inventor, be it anyone. The ownership defines all the rights of your patent or your trademark or your design. Now, the enforcement is important. If you have filed an IP, you need to monitor it also. It's not just that you have filed it and you got a certificate and you're just sitting with a certificate. You need to monitor the market for the infringement and you need to monitor it for the right implementation, include it into the business strategy so that you can reap benefits out of it. Now, failing to value the IP assets, after that, the audits and the portfolio management is also important. So IP is crucial for any startup to maintain a competitive advantage in the market. Now I'm quickly skipping this. There are smart protection of limited resources, like directly to skipping this slide. Now the investors, of course, they look for the IP rights. IP integrated portfolios are more preferences given to them. Now I'll be talking exclusively, I'll take another 1 minute to conclude very quickly. So there's a government support for the startup, which is a scheme for facilitating the startups for the IP protection. In short, we call it SITK, which is under the Startup India program. We are filing, in our firm, we are filing a lot of applications under this scheme. And to be really honest, the startups are really happy because they need not to pay anything to us. We used to raise the attorneys, used to raise the bills to the IIT India, and they give us the reimbursements. So it is a free IP service for getting the IP protection in India. Now it is applicable to individual inventors as well as to the institutes. The aim is to promote awareness and adoption of IP, and there's more implementation. Inclusion in this is the technology and innovation support centers. These are the international supported centers established in India. In India right now we do have 12 centers. So any university or even any individual inventor from the institute can approach these centers, and these centers review your application. They approach us and we file your application through SIPP with the Indian Patent Office. So who are eligible? Startups, Indian innovators, education institutions. What kind of help? Advisory, end-to-end support for the patent, trademarks and designs. This scheme is only applicable for patent, trademarks and designs only. Then preparing the responses, representation at the hearings, oppositions in the final disposal of application. The key takeaways is of course, you need to strengthen your portfolio, you need to unlock the new revenues by generating more and more IP, competitive advantage, licensing and monetization is very important, enhance the market position. Now the startup should take advantage of government schemes to save cost and leverage IP. Thank you. And there needs to be consultation from the IIT Council. Thank you so much for having me here.